and you're mad.
Yeah, it's all good.
Because it was a weather report.
That's it.
Oh, yeah.
All good. All good. Here we go. All right. Good to see everybody. Round 2. Here we go.
Ready?
Yep. Tell me when you got it ready to go.
3, 2, 1.
Hey, folks. Welcome back to your Frederick Real Estate Update. I am Darren Ahern with RE/MAX Results. And I have the one and only with me from Presidential Bank, Mr.
Terry Kernan.
How's everything going over there?
Good. Good.
So yeah, it's good to know. I know a couple of people, they'll say, you guys live taping, what are you doing this that? Yep, this is another one we had to do. We have a lot of stuff coming up, but we have a lot of good information, and it never goes out of style and stuff like that, because what I'm going to talk about today, Terry, is also in real time of a lot of things that I've been experiencing, that we're seeing in the market, especially on the conditional side of things like that. So we're going to get right on into it. Is that good?
Yes, sir.
All right. Last week we covered the numbers of how low the inventory was, 285. You know, this next week coming up, we don't see it growing much at all. Resales 139, 51 average days on market. New construction's down. Everybody likes that new stuff. 146.
Well, what we're seeing there is that I think a lot of builders had, and you know, I was out at the show 2 weeks ago, but basically a lot of builders that had contracts canceled, so they now had spec deals.
Yeah, they
that
do.
They had to sell, and
Yep.
they were a little more negotiating. They were a little more, you know, people, when rates first went up 6, 7, 8 months ago, people started to cancel contracts on new construction because they didn't know where rates were going to go.
Right.
And us as an industry had not captured or figured out the long-term locks yet and all of that. So there was so I think some of those homes are coming on the market, and the builders are being able to sell them quickly because they're finished and there's no question on where rates.
I was at Ren Quarter showing brand new builds over there in Frederick, and there were 4 of them that were just about completely finished, just about done.
Not under contract?
Not under contract. One of them, I couldn't believe it, was at $399. And then they were all in the 400s after that, the other ones. And do you know, after we showed it the very next day, the sales guy got back to me over there and said, hey, the one that you saw for $399 just got an offer on. Sold.
Really?
So yeah, they're not. So the bottom line is, they're not worried with finishing out a spec home that somebody had going that they bailed out on because of God knows whatever reason. They already know there's enough buyers up in line and the demand. It's going to get bought. It's not like it's going to be sitting for 3 or 6 months brand new and nobody's buying it. That's not the case right now whatsoever with new construction, because we're still behind the 8 ball on that.
And most builders, not every, but most builders,
Mm-hmm.
especially if they have a spec sitting, are going to give you some closing cost help, which you can't find as much on the
$5,000 maybe
resale.
I think over there they were doing like 5.
Yeah, 5, 10. I've seen.
Yeah, not much. They don't have to. Why? Because it's not quite like that market right now. But that's interesting to me that the numbers have come down to 146. Here's the big one coming soon, 39. This is a really big indicator. 39. I buy now. At this time last year, I had 5 or 6 listings coming on, and I got like 1 or 2 coming up.
Okay.
So I'm more than half off, and so is everybody else, because our clientele and buyers, sellers, are just, like I said, the only people selling are what? The people that already have a second home, they're moving out of state, they got this, that going. Pending on the contracts, 261. Haven't seen that number that low in that long.
So that's been hovering at around 300.
300, 325.
Yeah,
Now we've gotten down to 261.
Pending and under contract.
Pending under contract, 261 resale. The new ones is 200. So yeah, that's low. Last 30 days sold resales 142. 50 brand new builds, so about 200 homes in the last 30 days, which means we're having about 7 settlements a day right now.
So 25% of the homes that were sold last month were basically new construction.
Yeah, 25 to 35% is new construction. Yep.
Wow.
Days on market. Yeah, the days is 41
So
average. That's come down. We're averaging 51 on the new. I mean, on the resales, 51. But on the last 30 days sold, 41 days. It used to be down at like 25, 30. Remember I said to you, that number is definitely going to climb up and catch itself. Yeah, so we're seeing the ones that have just sold. Here's the big number, Terry, sold to list price ratio. If you remember, I told you when we get below 97%, that means the whole market is going into decline, right?
Okay.
We're at 96.7.
Ooh, so we're below that 97% factor.
We just went below it for the first time because we've been hovering around 100, 101. We got as high as 102.6%, which is these are the numbers that, you know what I think's funny about these numbers? When I talked to my kids about it one time, they went, Dad, it sounds like you're talking about a temperature of a human body. Like if you get above 103, Mayday, you're going to die. You're on fire.
You are
and
on
if
fire.
you get under like 95 or 90, whatever the number is, you're chilling. Well, we're chilling, baby. We're under 97. So I said the real estate market acts like if we're getting sick as a human versus not. It's kind of the same way, but it's opposite numbers though. That's the thing. It feels really good to give above 100%. Not so much when you get sick and have the flu and cold. So that's the numbers we pay attention to that funnel together to get to that 96.7.
So we're harping on this number.
Yep.
So let's just remind everybody what that number represents. That means that for every house that is sold, on average, it sells at 96.7% of the original list price.
Yeah, selling about 3%. Yeah, it's selling for a little under 3% than when it
3%.
listed at.
Okay, so
Yep.
just so everybody's clear on that. And that is based on numbers that are closing in the last 30 days. Is that?
Yes,
Yes.
these are the
So
solds in the last 30 days
so
is what
last
dictate
30
that number.
Okay, so basically what we're saying is that every list price was bumped down by, on average, 3% once they figured out the contract price.
Yep.
Okay.
And like I said, I just had that one in Middletown go under full price. I've had some others. Oh, I had one in Sandy Spring, that house, the big property and all, it was $699. That actually came up. That was above asking price I got on that. So this is the thing. That takes all of those into account too, because some people say, well, this ain't no big deal, 3 or 4%. No, it's a massive deal because that number is still factoring in properties that are selling above asking price and properties that are selling at the asking price. That's taking all of it into account. If you wipe those out of there, that whole number is a complete different story, because now all we're factoring in that segment of the market data would be the sellers that are 55% of the market now that have made a price correction since they've been listed on the market. Which, by the way, that number's not growing like it was, and that's good, because that's a good factor, because most sellers are now starting to understand, as you said last program, I ain't going to get what my neighbor got 8 months ago. That's the reality check right there that says, I ain't going to get that. I need to be a little bit more realistic and stuff. So
Yeah, so I think if they adjust to that, like you talked about on the last show, if they adjust to that by the 2 or 3%, and they get down
3 to 5.
3 to
3 to
5.
5.
That's right. So if they adjust to that, then what we're taking a look at is my feeling. This is my feeling, is that if they make that adjustment and they don't go kicking and screaming about making that adjustment, that the market will dictate whether that's where it should be.
yes,
Or with the new demand coming for the
spring
market,
market could push that up.
could
You get a
push
bidding
that up
war.
and get a bidding war.
Yep.
So,
We're
so
still
I
seeing
think
that.
strategy-
25%. Yeah, go ahead.
So I think that strategy that you're talking about will work regardless.
It will.
Because if you lower it, then you're going to get people interested right away.
Yep.
And if there's enough interest, then you only need 2 people to have a bid.
Yep. Bidding
to
war.
bidding war.
Yep.
Right? So I think that's a pretty good. I think that's a good strategy because I think it's going to really set the standard or the baseline.
It absolutely is, because I've showed sellers over and over again, you're not losing anything. You're actually going to gain it, because 9 out of 10 times the terms and conditions, not having to give 3% closing costs on my Middletown house would have been over $15,000. Check this out. it's not the full thing that's a loss in any regard at all. It's actually more favorable at the end of the day, because you have to look at how that is now going to be dictating you doing better than your neighbor that isn't doing this. Your neighbor that's not doing this is going to lose more than you. They're going to lose it in number one, the time on the market right away. See, most people aren't thinking like, oh yeah, if I sell my house in a month or two versus in 6 months, that's right. I save 4 months, ready Terry? 4 months of mortgage payments, taxes, insurance, electric. Holy cow. That's the part that no one's talking about that I like to say, hey, you got to look at the whole thing. It's not just what's happening with the market in real time and how to strategize. It's about, you keep this house 6 months, how much that carrying cost is going to cost you. Now they start going, holy cow, that's over 10 grand. Honey, that's $15,000 to $20,000. There you go. So how would you like this? And I know someone's going to say, yeah, but they're moving somewhere else and they're going to, yeah, but that's a whole different level of expenses. Now, if they're moving up in a home, okay, that doesn't work now. I get it. But if they're downsizing, oh, it works all day long, boys and girls, right? Because your cost of life and housing as a whole is now, and guess what we're seeing mostly of, Terry? Most people are going sideways or down. Why? Look at the whole economy. Look at gas prices, food prices, everything else. Terry, and you can vouch to this. Do you see a large number of people that are coming into this environment, this buying market and housing, who are upgrading as a whole? Is it more than 50% of the loan applications where people are coming out and they're just upgrading? They're just adding more to their whole life.
I haven't seen a lot of that. What I am seeing is a lot of demand coming from first-time home buyers.
That's it.
What we often talk about is their rents are being pushed up.
Yep.
And and I've talked about that number that first-time home buyers was 1 out of 4, and now we're over 30%. You know, so that number is going up, and that's going to continue to go up because me, you, most of the people we deal with, like, it doesn't make sense for me to, right now in my life, to buy a bigger house. And I don't want to put my house on the market.
I ain't doing it.
Because I'm comfortable in my payment, right? And I want to stay there. And so I think we're seeing a lot of that. So until people get over that, so people can say, hey, all right, I'm going to pull the trigger. I see this house that I really, really want. So I think that we're looking in the younger age group, you know, the people that are being forced to move up. And that is the 32-year-old that just had their second child, that just had their third child. Mm-hmm. And the townhouse that they're living in or the condo that they're living in is just not cutting it. So they're being pushed into expanding, buying a new house, getting a bigger house. And that's where I'm seeing most of the demand for houses is the younger generation, you know, the 40 and below.
Yeah.
But I'm not seeing a whole lot of 40 and aboves buying unless they're downsizing.
Right.
Unless they're downsizing. And it's really not the 40s. The 40 to the 50s we're not really seeing. It's the 40 and below, and then, you know, the 60 and above, people selling and downsizing. So
one of the big questions I have is this. Obviously, when you do people's loans, and especially as first-time home buyers, you already know how much money they're paying in rent. And let's just say they're paying $2,000 a month. Yes, they may be moving up into something that their payment's now like $2,400, $2,500, $2,600. But the thing is, it is more cost, but by the time they do their write-off and they do their mortgage deduction and the write-off and their taxes and the home ownership and all that stuff, it actually gets pretty close to where it's almost like $100 or $200 a month, right? The bigger factor is no more rent. No more rent. They don't have that threat of that no more. They get locked in. So, and then it would be interesting to see the percentage. If you have 10 buyers, what percentage, Terry, are actually going above their current rent payment they pay now that they're already comfortable with, versus how many are saying, no, I want to try to stay right where I'm at right now, and how many are actually getting into a place where it's actually less than what they're paying rent. Because I've had that happen before too. Now that's pretty rare.
That was in the 3% market a year ago.
Okay, the 3% market a year ago,
That's
we were
not
seeing
happening
more
today.
buyers have less mortgage payment than they were paying a rent. Whereas the mortgages now that are at 6.5, that took that away. I can see that.
Yes.
Okay, I can see how that factors in.
So what I'm seeing, here's what I'm seeing with first-time home buyers,
Mm-hmm.
is my rent is going up. It's not gone up, but my rent is going up. And the reason it's going up, they don't tell me this, but I know, is because the cost to own a home has gone up with the interest rate. So the landlords, and we talk about this on most shows,
They factor it in.
factor it in.
You're going to pay for
So
it.
most of the first-time home buyers that I'm working with, their rent is going to go up, or they're living at home and they want to, you know, but let's say the renter that says my rent's going up and I don't have any money right now and I need some down payment assistance. This Monday, coming up, February 20th, we're going to be opening up our grant program to $12,500 for somebody that is a first-time home buyer.
Woo!
A single person, if they make $80,000 or less, really 79,700 or whatever. But if you make in that range and you're single, you can get $12,500. If you're an accountant, if you're a mortgage banker, if you're a real estate
First
agent.
responders, all those things.
No,
not them.
They
That's
get
different.
12,500.
They get 12.5.
People like you and I get 12,500 if we were first-time home buyers.
Oh, okay, first time.
People that is a first responder, somebody that, is a maintenance worker at a community college, is a teacher, and these are samples of people that I've worked with. Somebody that's a hairdresser, beautician, whatever the correct name, but somebody that does hair for a living, that teaches at a studio, they can get 15,000.
Wow.
So all you have to do is be associated with the medical profession. You have to be associated with the
Law
educational
enforcement
profession, law enforcement.
Nice.
So a receptionist at a dental office can get $15,000.
See, this is what
Right.
people don't know. That's why they need to call you.
So this is something that it's very big. Montgomery County has an unbelievable program through the Maryland Mortgage Program. $25,000 that they get, and they get a really good rate through the Maryland Mortgage Program. Right now, that rate's at 6.25. So plus they get 25,000. So Montgomery County has a great. So there's a lot out there if you're a first-time home buyer. Don't settle for. No, we don't offer those grants. Figure out the grants. Give me a call.
Yeah.
I will.
I know you're working
I
on
love
something.
figuring out how much money I can get you.
Yeah, and that's
But
something
that's
you
what we're
guys do
seeing
that's
on
amazing.
the rental, and that's what I'm seeing in the demand. Is it's a lot of first-time home buyers.
And this is the boost that gives the first-time home buyers the cushion to be able to get the heck out of what they're dealing with and paying with and what's coming, to be able to get into something solid, home ownership, locked in. Here we go. Refinance probably later and you're fine, right? All right, Terry, the rest of the program, here's what we're going to talk about. The craziness that I've been dealing with. It's not too bad. Those challenges. I love these challenges. Failed septic stuff. This is really important, guys. And I know there again, I want to mention again, I mentioned it before. If you're on public water and sewer and you say, well, I don't need to worry about septic. Yes, you do. Because one day you might find yourself in one. Or your kids might buy a house that has a well and septic or what have you. So here's the deal. First and foremost with all that stuff like that, and I deal with this all the time with sellers, mostly especially, is they look at you and they say, I don't know when I did it last. We've been here 20 years. We've never had a problem. You're more than lucky and fortunate. You're about ready to have one in a week and you don't know it. So here's the deal. Costs about $500 or $700 to have it pumped out, checked out, make sure everything's working okay with, depending on what kind of system you have and all that. And as a seller, here's the thing. You can't call me and say, Darren, we want to sell our house next week and we just pumped a septic today. First thing I'm going to say is, oh, no, that's not good. You either do it a month or two ago, or we let the buyer do it after you get a contract in place. And I know you just looked at me like, what are you talking about?
No, and people are out there going, well, isn't that, It's like power washing your siding. Like, I did that before I called you.
That would be a good thing to
That's
do.
a good
Power
thing to
wash
do.
your siding.
But
I want your wife
checking
power
that
washing
heat.
my siding before that.
Mary Susan will do it.
But don't do your septic unless it's been a month or two before you're going to sell your home. Here's why. The buyer can't do a septic test where you just did it and then they bring a company in a week or two or whatever later and they open the lid up and they go, the tank's not even full.
Where did it all go?
Where did it all go? That is a red flag. Well, it didn't necessarily go anywhere. It just takes time for the tank and everything to fill back up.
Okay.
So,
That's a very good point.
please, as a seller, pump your septic out, get it inspected, and do all that about a month or 2 months before selling, or we can't do it until after you get a contract in place. Now, if you're going to overprice your house so much your home sits on the market for 6 months, by the way, I won't take that listing. You'll have somebody else. I'll give you 3 cards of other agents. If you have that strategy in mind, sure, pump it out today. Who cares? Because the tank will be filled back up and it will be able to be checked to make sure the mid-seam levels and there's no outbreaks and no this and no that, okay? So this is really important, what I just shared.
Yes, it is.
I'm going to charge people for this information, Terry.
Yes, it is.
I get passionate, don't I?
Difference
All right.
between an opinion and advice is you can charge for the advice.
There you go. There you go. So these aren't opinions. These are factual things to think about. So that's rule number 1. It costs about $500, $600, $700. Because of what we're dealing with, I have become even a bigger, more proponent than ever before. Get it done. Just do it now. Get it done. We are seeing a barrage of septics failing and all that. And I don't know if it's age, the weather, this, that. I don't know if it's roots getting in it. I don't know if people are throwing Ridex down in there and Clorox, or they now are hey, our septic system's been working great for 10 years. Honey, let's put a garbage disposal in we've never had. I've always wanted a garbage disposal.
Yeah.
Just like buying a Mercedes. Haven't you always wanted one?
Yeah, I
Stick
probably
one.
couldn't live without
And,
one.
and
but
don't do one that's a quarter horsepower. Throw the 2 horsepower garbage disposal underneath that sink. I don't know what's going on. I know it sounds funny, but dear God in heaven, this is getting crazy. How many septics are failing? So,
what percentage do you think are you seeing that have not failed or that are failing? Like, is it 1 in 4?
it is right now. Yeah.
So you have the cloud over your head.
It's a cloud, and I've heard of other agents that are like, yeah, we're dealing with issues too. What is going on? So I don't know. I just know you got to take preemptive steps. You got to stay ahead of the game. You got to deal with this stuff. It's like changing oil in the car and all that. Just pay for it. Like, why would you not spend $100 to change your oil? Would you rather spend $4,000 or $5,000 on a new motor? It's just like the same thing, right? It's the same idea as far as this. So we got about 3 minutes left, Terry. Well and septics, what kind? First of all, we look at what kind, the age, and the updates worked on, and all those things, types of them. Conventional with fields, they're buried underground. They're $10,000 to $15,000 to replace when they're at the end of their life, and I have heard that they can last 40 or 50 years. Not bad, not bad. 40, 50 years on all that. That's the conventional type. Now, we're seeing less of those being approved by the health department in the state to be able to put in systems today more than ever, okay? Why? I don't know. I'm not a sanitarian. I'm not Kim Dillman over at the health department, all those guys. They're smarter than I'll ever be. If I had half their brains, I'd get this stuff, okay? Seepage pits. These are the ones that are much, much older. They don't do these anymore, really. They typically are big round ones, very deep, and all that kind of stuff. And there could be a million things that create these things. Sand mound systems, raised bed ones. These are the little baby pipes that stick out of the ground that your lawnmower is going to hit if they don't get taken care of. These are the ones that last about 25-year life, typically, if they're maintained correctly. And they are about $25,000 to $30,000 to redo.
The sand mound.
Sand mound. $1,000 a year, boys and girls. Okay? Bat system, you know about this, the best available technology.
Best available technology.
This is all down in the critical bay areas and all those things, and we've had them here in Frederick County. I have systems. These are the ones that we joke around about, that on the other end of the system you could actually drink it again. Yeah,
what
we
I've
joke.
been told.
People go, oh, yuck. No, really. This is supposed to be so good technology. These are the ones that you must have. These are the most expensive. They're $35,000 to $50,000. And we're not seeing these as recommended as much by the health department. But if you do have to pay for it, it's the most expensive. And you must have this serviced every year because there's filters in it and they need checked and cleaned and all this and that. And it costs about $400 or $500 to have done. So it's non-negotiable. That's that kind of system. And by the way, the septic companies have to report it to the county that it's been taken care of and serviced.
Yes, and let me just, the bat system.
Yep.
Darren said in the critical areas down by the water, down by the bay. If you have a need for a bat system, and if you need for your septic that fails, and you're down in Calvert County, Charles County, St. Mary's County,
Anne Arundel,
anywhere that the bay, even across the bay, the state of Maryland is very, very, very. There are grants available. I got a grant when mine failed.
Yep. So don't
they
panic.
pay for everything, but that $30,000 is a real number. But there are grants out there to help you. So
Yeah, and the septic companies and the health departments, they'll help you with all of it. They do everything.
Call
Call Terry too. Terry,
I went through it.
Terry's had a little challenge, as they say, a little challenge down on the bay.
That was a big challenge.
That was a big challenge. All right. Real quick, 2 minutes left. Corrective maintenance and things like that. Terry, I always tell people pump and inspect it every 3 years. Yeah, but there's only 2 of us here. There's only me here. I only live here. Why would I do that? Every 3 years.
So on the bat system, I had a service contract.
Yep.
That they came out every 6 months or every year.
Every
to
year.
Check it out. They came out every 6 months.
Well, that's nice.
For the first 5 years to check it out. But if you get that, that is kind of peace of mind.
Yes.
And it does make it easier to sell your house, just to let you
Yeah,
know.
because any records you have of maintenance is like a car record. 1 minute left. Check the mid. What they do is they check the mid seam levels, the baffles, the field absorptions, and all those things. That's why you want to wait on doing that. Cost is about $500 to $700, $750 on a bad day. And then the bat system we already talked about. Rule number 1, Terry, as I end the program, here are the most important rules you're ever going to hear about septic systems. Number 1, conserve water use. I have 6 boys. There are 8 of us in our house. We do military showers. 30 seconds. You get in, you're done in 30 seconds. If you're not done in 30 seconds, then you can just keep being dirty. I don't really care at that point. By the way, this is not child abuse. This is septic system maintenance. Never put anything down the drain. Never put garbage disposal on. Don't load it up with chemicals, Clorox bleach, Rindex, all that stuff. Because the system will do its job on its own if you just listen to what we're telling you today. Hey guys, have an awesome weekend. And we can't wait to see you next week. Terry and I are always here to help you guys out. Happy buying and selling. See you next week on your Frederick Real Estate Update. All right. See you guys. By the way, keep your septic clean. You won't deal with a bunch of crap then. We'll see you next time.